Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Relations. Here we are again for another amazing episode. I'm so excited, as per usual, having another important conversation that we must have today. Okay? So the premise of today's episode is the deterioration of the Black family unit. So first, let's lead with introducing my guest for today. You know, the co-hosts, they make everything so hot and so cool and so vibed. This is Reems. Reems, say hi to the people.
What's up, good people?
So Reems and I went to college together. We studied communication, so we had a lot of classes together, but we never really talked. There was never really direct communication. But you know how life goes. Your tribe is always united at some point in your lifetime. So it came back around. Another mutual friend of ours, who's one of my amazing friends, who is also the owner of Lash Out Loud. Check it out. Her episodes will be coming out. You guys already heard it by now, so make sure that you follow that. And so they connected, they're united, they're about to embark in a life together. And of course, I have to be in the vibe because, you know, I support them and I love them so much. So, you know, let's get into it. So the transition for today is, for many generations, our ancestors formulated tribes where people of color constructed traditions, even under the constraints of their own environments, taking scraps and given to them and using them to create experiences and connections within their families. But throughout the centuries, this is a constant combat. How do we remain united when the system is created to keep us separated? I know that's deep and there's a lot to soak in on, but we have to address it. Let's talk about it. So, Reems, what do you think? Where do you think we can remain united in this systematic conditioning that was taught to us to not connect?
Well, one of my favorite things in the world is the Serenity Prayer, right?
I have it in my bathroom, right near my shower.
Has to be in the house.
Word.
Gotta look at that. For those who don't know, say it with me.
Serenity, grant me serenity, to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to achieve things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
So with that said, knowing the difference is knowing what we can control and what we can't. Certain shit around us we can't control.
Right.
But what we can control is our family unit and what we do to keep that together. My answer to that in my world is through food. We've always had Big Mama, we've had Auntie, Titi, Abuela, whatever. You know, we always had somebody that we all come to the table as a family. Cousins, we beefing. Relationships, wife, husband, we beefing. Girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case.
But you gotta be there for Sunday dinner.
Gotta be there. No matter what you're doing. All right, we're gonna fight until we get in the car, and then fight till we park, and then go to the house. And then we'll talk about it from there. So I think that what's missing in today's world, in today's society, and us 80s and 90s babies is that. So many of us came from, you know, single family homes for whatever reason, things we can get into. But at the end of the day, what was missing was that dinner setting, that vibe, that situation where we could talk, where we could sit down, air our grievances, or come up with solutions or financial plans or educational plans or whatever's going on in the home. Yeah. It's missing usually because somebody was missing.
So to get a little personal, right? In my own family unit, we had Mama's house, right? Every Sunday we had dinner at my grandmother's house. I remember it vividly throughout my entire childhood, no matter what. Everybody's wife, husband was present. All of the cousins were present. Every Sunday, rain or shine, right? And then my grandmother passed away. And I remember the shift that happened with that. Like, there was just a shift, right? And it's like, okay, so what do we do next? And it's almost like in this gap of figuring out what happens next, somebody kind of has to take the hold, right? Someone has to decide, okay, well, I'm going to cook. Ashley, come to my house. And then little by little, people start getting accustomed to shifting, right? Because change is something hard, although we're constantly doing it, for some reason it's really hard for us to do frequently or at all. And so I remember then my mom took the hold. And my mom became like the one, and then her food was out of nowhere became like the best food ever, and she cooked the best, and everyone wanted to come to her house to eat.
Right.
And then she couldn't continue it. Now my mom has passed away. And so that is another shift. And it's almost like this limbo phase. Like, okay, so who takes over now, right? Now is the next generation. Now my other aunts are a little bit older. They're a little bit intimidated, I think. They're probably not going to like that I said this, but right. I think they're intimidated with the fact that my mom was like the good cook. And it's almost like, well, there's something missing in their cooking. So maybe they might not feel comfortable taking that ownership and saying, okay, I'll do it now from moving forward on a Sunday basis.
Is there encouragement on that end? Like if y'all go over and eat?
Oh, come on. You know we don't do encouragement, right? Like the way that we encourage each other is by making fun of each other, right? Like it's like, oh, well, we like the way you make lasagna. Just make lasagna. Don't make that rice, though. Like, you know how we do, right? And so encouragement doesn't look very supportive.
Absolutely.
In the way that we go about communicating with each other to begin with.
Right.
Which I think that leads us to the next question. How is social conditioning of our people affecting our ways of life?
Ooh, a lot of ways. I mean, from the beginning, my beginning I'm starting with is our conception, like where we came from as 80s babies, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Social conditioning at that time, the men had to be super hard, super outside, all that type of shit. But what that led to was incarceration. Mm-hmm. Everybody went down. Rockefeller laws, the whole thing, Reaganomics, Iran-Contra, like a whole bunch of shit. So what happened after that was that woman of the house had to do it on her own. Mm-hmm. So now you doing it on your own means that you don't need a man. Mm. So now when you're raising your kids, your son and your daughter, what do they see? Mommy don't need a man. Right. Men are not needed. Mm. Family isn't needed. You just need one person to survive. It's all survival at that point. It's not family. It's not what it was. It's more so, today I gotta go get the money. I gotta work 2 jobs, 3 jobs,
and make it work
tonight. Or you may not eat a family style dinner. Mm-hmm. You know, you may get that $5 Chinese plate. You might get that beef patty and cocoa bread. You know what I mean? That jerk chicken or whatever. You know, whatever in your environment, whatever that food is, and you're gonna do that. And what happened was the family structure got broken down, and it stayed that way. There was nothing that changed it ever since then.
So, do you think that that social conditioning is not just coming from our society, but coming from within our own environments? Like, who is feeding that to us? Is it fed by women who felt like they had no choice to figure it out?
Absolutely.
Or is it fed by the men who decided to stay away and they just never came back?
Well, I mean, I'm not one to take onus or take blame off of the men, but you sign up. You're not a victim, you're a volunteer, right? Mm-hmm. So, as a woman, if you know your man is outside in the streets, you're doing whatever you got to do to bring it back. Whenever that goes wrong, it's not for you to blame him on it, right? Mm-hmm. So we can't say somebody else did it. We can't say the system or whoever else did it.
We have to take accountability. Accountability season, you guys.
Choice, you know what I mean? You was a part of that choice. Mm-hmm. You know, you got the good side of that. So now here comes the bad side of that. Mm. Granted, there's definitely other factors in play. Mm-hmm. Like they say, there's no coke fields or no dope fields that grow in Harlem. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like the things get to us.
Get to us in some way, somehow. Vices, they become vices.
You know what I mean? So it's not all the way our fault, but there is a systematic play. We know that. Mm. And what's more important is how we navigate through it, especially from then until now. Knowing what we know now in the information age, we didn't have the internet back then. Nobody knew that everybody was doing this. We only knew our block was doing it. Mm-hmm. You know, whoever had the red tops on our block is what we knew. Nobody knew that every block had a red top.
Right.
In every city in America.
Right.
LA and Chicago and Miami and Houston, whoever. Like, nobody knew that. So, as we did what we had to do, or our parents and aunts and uncles and so forth did what they had to do, that became the condition, and it just became a cycle of
cycles.
It's a cycle of what has to happen. This is our culture.
Mm-hmm.
It became culture. It fed into the music. It fed into the fashion. It fed into everything. Everybody's great story, from the Jay-Z's to the Damon Johns and Fubu to a lot of people in the world. Their startup story was a dope boy.
Yeah.
Somebody
the narrative.
Money. Somebody, you know what I mean? Big man on the block. He sponsored me. He told me to stay inside. He told me don't come outside now. You got an art. You got a talent. You got a gift. You know, you stay over there. You rap. You make your clothes. You do your spoken word. You do whatever you do. But that became our culture, where it was crime based. You know what I mean? And crime as defined by the system. It was crime based. You know what I mean? And that's where they hung us up at, and that's where things went wrong.
So, to understand where we are, right, we have to understand where we come from.
Absolutely.
And what brought us to this space, right? So what are some of the things that keep us under these constraints and control, right, in our environments? Like you said, drugs were brought into our neighborhoods. The fast food was brought into our neighborhoods. Projects were introduced in our neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
So these are just some of the things that were introduced into our environments that keep us under these type of mental constraints. What are some of the things that keep us, besides these things, besides the impoverished neighborhoods, the fast foods, all of that? What are other things that you can think of that keep us in that type of mentality?
I mean, we know Willie Lynch, right? You know how that works.
Tell them about him for the people that don't know.
You know, so this is a myth at this point, as it has been discovered, where we were basically taught a crab in a barrel mentality, where only one can make it out, only one can do a certain thing, if that. But to go back to what you said, I don't want to skip over the projects, you know, and things like that. Like, as far as the projects, when they first built NYCHA and everything, when they built the projects in New York, do you know how they set those up as far as who can move in?
Based on income, no?
Not just that. It was based on income, and the real stipulation, the man couldn't be there. The father couldn't be there. He couldn't be on that lease.
I remember, actually,
Think about them leases
crazy.
Think about everybody in there. Only one parent on that
So
lease.
You're right. So where I grew up, it wasn't project based. It was kind of it was a private company that was building complexes for single mothers.
Okay.
And I remember vividly when I was young, when we moved in there, my mom was always the only one on the lease. And like, my father obviously was both of my parents always worked, but my father made a lot more money. He paid more. Yeah, he was breadwinner.
Wasn't allowed to exist.
Right. And it was, I remember always like my dad giving my mom the rent money, and like everything had to go through my mom. And I remember one day I asked, like, you know, Mom, like, why can't he just submit the check? Like, I don't understand. He's like, no, but I have to do it because he's not on the lease. And I was like, but why can't he be on the lease? Like, we lived here for a long time. Like, they were living there before I was born.
Absolutely.
So how is it that we can't live here? Or rather, they moved in there when I was 2 years old. So I was 2. We moved there as a family. And I remember we shared a 1-bedroom apartment. Not even. I think it was a studio. Was it 1 bedroom? 1 bedroom with my aunt, my mom's sister, and her husband, and their son, my cousin. Right. So it was 2 families living in a 1-bedroom apartment. And then we got our own apartment. Right. But they were both always there. So why is it that they couldn't be on the paperwork? That makes complete sense.
That's what it was. You couldn't have them there.
Right. But we did it anyway.
The breadwinner that doesn't exist on the paperwork, what happens when that breadwinner goes away? So now the lifestyle that was there, whatever the family dynamic was, now is not even that. So that goes into your last question.
Right. And the Section 8 and all of that, right? Section 8, we're fighting for all of that.
If you want to get that, he can't be on the lease.
Right.
I don't know how your side went, but on my side, when them census people came in 2000 and them years that they came, you got to hold up. Somebody knocking at the door, they can't just, no, we're not expecting you. Who's coming?
Right.
Hold on, we got to scramble because everybody that's in here not supposed to be
here. Right.
That was
that was the manipulation that was used to break us apart to begin with, right?
Yeah, that was housing in our household. We can go into redlining and things like that. When we talk about accumulating wealth and how others were able to do it versus what we could do.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people from other walks of life can say, "Oh, just pull yourself by your, pull up by your bootstraps. Do what you got to do. You have opportunity. America, the land of opportunity." You don't understand how redlining works and the fact that you can't get a loan in certain areas, even if you could afford it, even if your credentials allow for it.
There was no space for it. So what are the direct effects on it in regards to our gender, right? Like, how are black men affected by this and how are black women affected by this? You as a man, how is this affecting you and other black men like you?
Black men specifically, I would say, is affected, basically what I was saying, like through generational bullshit, where you had to not exist at first, even though you're the breadwinner. And the way that you're the breadwinner lands you in jail for a ridiculous amount of time. We get sentenced way worse than everybody else. We know this, right? 3 strikes you're out. That was created for us. The 94 crime bill that everybody's talking about now with Bill Clinton and everything,
that was for us as well.
Clintons and so forth, and Bernie signed off on it, and a lot of people signed off on this 94 bill. That fucked us. That hurt us. Rockefeller laws. Crack is only in the inner cities, right? Just because we cooked it up, because Freeway Rick Ross in LA decided to put some baking soda in the cocaine and put it on
and made
stove.
It something else. Yeah.
That made that 5 grams of cooked up cocaine worth the same amount of time as 50 grams of raw cocaine. So when you do it that way, who's buying cocaine? Another world. Those people. We're buying the crack. Locked everybody up. That's the black man's story. That's our story. Now where the black women fall in is having to pick up those pieces. Because again, like you said, he was the breadwinner. He wasn't on the paperwork, but he was the breadwinner. And granted, if he worked a 9 to 5, if he did construction, did whatever, drove a cab, whatever the fuck, if he did anything, he was still the breadwinner. And the fact that even if it wasn't him, let's say he was financed, let's say his boss was somebody who was outside or played around or hustled or whatever the case, he lost his job too, right?
Right. There's multiple people
that shop, that barber shop, that construction place, that whatever the business was, laundromat, whatever it was, like everybody under that goes too. And this is something that I've experienced directly. I see how that is. So traditionally, though, the black woman is the one who falls, who takes the brunt of that, because now you're stuck with the kids. Not stuck, but left with the kids.
You're left with the kids with all the responsibility, and then that brings up the bitterness, right?
Resentment.
I think that's a humongous part of it, right? Because then that feeds the cycle of continuing it. Because now you're not mad at the system itself, but now you're mad at that person for what they did to you, for what they felt like they had to do. And then that continues on. And then now I'm mad as the second descendant at the parent for what they did. So then now we carry on that resentment through our lineage.
Children always know more than the adults think they know, right?
Very much so. A lot.
They hear them conversations. They hear you talking to sis on the phone. This nigga, They hear that.
The nonverbals as well.
That too.
Energy is felt. Especially kids. They're a lot more intuitive than we are. So, how is the mental manipulation a continued crisis in today's society?
Repeat that.
How is the mental manipulation of our lineage and everything that we've been through a continued crisis in in today's society?
Generational curses that we all hoping to break. In our worlds and our family structures, but the continuance is, like we just said, the daughter that grew up watching her mother not need no man. So now how do you go out on a date and be the woman that you're supposed to be?
Or rather be open to whatever it is that she can connect with and see where it can go. It's almost like you're already on the defense. You're already on the defense.
Starting in a hole. And it's not just y'all on the hook, it's the man too. It's the young man that grew up that never seen his mother get loved. How do you know how to love somebody? You never seen what that look like. It goes both ways. Like the kids grow up seeing what they saw. and more importantly, not seeing what they didn't see.
Right. So emulating, right? That leads to emulating what you already know. So it makes it a lot harder.
Right. Like I grew up.
Right. This is what, and I came out okay. Right.
I survived.
And that's another thing. Like, are we looking to survive and just make it through, or are we looking to really create something that we've never seen before, or not never, but in our current lifestyle, right? In the last 3 generations. Just to be
you were 8 years old, 7, 8, 9 years old in 1992.
Yeah,
you had 2 fathers, Bill Cosby and Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil. Those was your 2 fathers.
That's so true. And but
you ain't no college until you seen Dwayne and Whitley there.
But this is where I feel like we need to take accountability and ownership of what we can do, because when you know better, you do better, right?
Absolutely.
Or so they say. But the idea that we were able to, even when we weren't able to identify with what a family looked like in our homes, we were still able to turn on the TV and see what a good black father is. So,
she could be a doctor, she could be a lawyer. Like,
right. It still was possible, right? We saw it be possible, meaning that we should still be able to know better.
Imagery is important.
And do better.
Absolutely. Imagery is important. But at the same time, as important as the imagery is and seeing it on TV, you still got to go outside.
Right. It's not reality. It's not your reality.
15B.
Right.
And you got to go down that pissy elevator and you got to go outside.
Right. It's still not part of your reality.
So the balance helps, but then there's still your reality. You know?
So how can we begin to heal our lineage and reconstruct our communities? What are you doing to do that?
My particular mission, which is something that I didn't know was my mission until recently. I feel like the food is way more important than we took it to be. I feel like that family dinner dynamic is something that we took, I want to say for granted, but we just took as the norm. This is what happens. And then at some point that didn't happen. And at some point Uber Eats happened and Postmates and such. And then next thing you know, you don't really realize what's missing until you realize it's that. And it's not so much just the food; it's the environment the food creates. You know what I mean? The food on the table, you cannot even eat a plate, but you at that table. We done seen 100 Tyler Perry movies and such movies where the most dramatic scene of the movie or the climax of the movie is at that dinner table. You know what I mean? Like, for good, bad, and indifferent. You know, like that's where it came from. So with me, I've always liked to cook. You know, a lot of people like to do a lot of things, right? But that doesn't make it a your life goal or your career or your such and such. Like, for me noticing how me feeding other people made them feel. You know what I mean? Like, we can always party. Somebody got the buzz, somebody got the drink, we can always do that, right? But when you sit with somebody or with a group of people and you realize, like, they had peace, like, you don't know what kind of day they had. Like, you just called the homies to, like, oh, what's up? I got some food. Come eat. And you see them and then they're happy, like they're at peace.
Bring it back to the food. So I've been actually pondering on this for a while, and it keeps coming up as well for me. Even talking today to my sister, she was on her way to Houston, Texas, which is where my cousin and my nephew live. Okay. And as soon as she was like on her way, my cousin like reached out to her like, oh, so what do you want to eat? I'm gonna take you to this place. We're gonna go eat this. And it's like, and she's like, it's crazy how we always gotta think about food. And I was like, yeah, but we do. Like, that's how we unite. That's how we congregate. Like, that's what we do. We center our meals or our lives around our meals.
Listen, the only American food is soul food. It was the food of our ancestors. The bullshit that they left us. Tough ass collard greens. The bullshit ass
the scraps.
Pig feet, and chitlins, the intestines, all the scraps they left us. That was the food. What was the movie with the girl that not the girl, the woman, but she was it was something about a pie. I think she shit in the pie. Anybody seen that? Y'all seen that?
Oh, yes. Yeah. The help.
The story was based around food.
Yeah, it was. That's true.
The up and down, the dynamic,
everybody came together and brought something to the table.
It was about the food. It was about the people in the kitchen.
So I've been talking about this for a while and trying to manifest having this idea of gratitude dinners. And I want to host, like, just have people I know, my friends, come together around the table and start reminding ourselves and each other about the good things that we have done. I think that we sometimes can be very hard on ourselves, and, like, you know, we always remember the negative things or what's happening right now, our current existence, that we often forget how far we've come and all the things that we have accomplished. And I think that we have to rely on our friends and our environment and our tribe to remind us of that, so that we can start being, you know, having gratitude towards what we've been through in our journey.
Positive reinforcement is important.
Exactly.
We took a big loss this week with Nipsey, right?
Right.
Nobody knew. What if everybody would have said that 3 weeks ago? What if everybody would have said, yo, he started a STEM program for the kids to get the silicon? What if they said, you know, he was trying to, in the gang shit, he was meeting with LA? What if everybody would have said this 3 weeks ago?
Right. Would it have been that valuable? Would people care as much as they care now?
Right.
So maybe we can do some joint ventures. Maybe I can hire you to be the chef of one of my gratitude dinners. That's going to be coming up soon. We're probably going to do live podcasting. I'm still, you know, trying to think about and conquer how I want this to look and how I want it to be. But I definitely wanted to do it around food and around love and people that just come together ready to be honest and open and really, like, healing our lineage, bringing the things of our lineage that needs to come back together, which is just conversation.
Absolutely.
Honest conversation. So thank you for this is good. Thank you for joining. Thanks for being part of this. I know you have...
Anytime. I got a question for you, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Give me one.
You know, me knowing you and knowing, like, your career path, how do you feel in a world where there's not so many of you, if any at all?
It's heartbreaking. Every day, being even at work, right now, this is the first. I was really excited about this current job that I'm in because this is the first time I'm actually working for a Black company, a Black-owned company, and that was an accomplishment for me. And then I get there, and there's not that many Black people that do what I do. And when I'm saying that they are, but most of them are in marketing and in promo, but not a lot of them are in business and handling the money and handling the management part of it. And it's heartbreaking. And so I know that I'm in this environment for a reason. I'm not a victim. I'm very grateful for the space that I'm in, regardless of how I feel about it. I understand that I'm here for a reason. And so I have to start making decisions to create environments for people that look like me. Even my mere presence is making a change, which is why I'm sticking through it no matter what. So yeah. Those are my attempts.
That's a goal of yours? Like, if that's something that...
A high level goal. I have to. It's my responsibility. It's for the responsibility of my lineage. As soon as my mom passed away, I mean, I don't know, for those of you who have lost a parent and you're the next generation in line, there is something that happens to your spirit in this process. I'm still trying to identify because no one talks about this. But there's something that happens within you where you're just like, you get this newfound hunger and drive to have to do things bigger than you.
Absolutely.
Like, it's no longer just, this is fun or this is interesting. Huh?
Ain't that some shit when you feel that?
Yeah, I didn't even know that it was a thing. This is what's horrible about it, because I've never heard anyone talk about that. I never heard anyone address this in movies, nowhere. Like, I haven't seen that in part of my existence. And I'm like, and as soon as that was happening to me, and it happened to me immediate. Like, as I was watching her take her last breaths, it immediately happened to me. And that energy that she transferred into my spirit, left me with this newfound drive to have to do this for her mother, for her mother's mother, for her mother's mother's mother, for her father, for her father's father. Like, this is way bigger than like a fun thing.
One of my favorite sayings is 2 most important days of your life: the day you were born and the day that you realize why.
Well, if that's not a way to exit, I don't know what is.
Signing out.
So thank you guys for listening. I really, really appreciate it. Make sure you stay tuned for the after credits. Remember, that's the best part. And I hope that you're able to connect and heal some things in your communities. Please take a look. Please have a conversation, even if it's a thought, just anything that comes out of this. I would really, really just appreciate it, because this is what it's about, planting seeds. Thank you. Later. And now, the best part. Here are the after credits. A message from my co-host.
All right, what's up, people? My business is The Fix New York. Personal chef, catering, meal prep, video podcasting coming soon. We're going to do instructional and informational videos where everybody can get together, can talk our shit, and at the same time learn something. And I just want the family dynamic back. We're missing that, and it shows. And we can do better, and we will. Love y'all.